Today I'm going to share one of my favorite zucchini cake recipes with you. Earlier this summer I shared one about making zucchini bread. That's really quick and easy. This one's a little bit more in depth, but oh so good. And I found it many years ago. I will put in the description below, I'll put the link to the website where I found it. I'm always thankful for the Blind Pig and the Acorn, my blog, because I can go back. If it's something I really liked, chances are I wrote about it on there, so I can go back and see. And it was in 2012 when I found this recipe. And it was one of those summers that I was having so much zucchini, I just didn't hardly know what to do with it. And I thought, you know, I love zucchini bread, and I make a zucchini chocolate cake too. I can't remember if I made that prior, and what point in that timeline there that I started making it. But I love that a lot. Anyway, I went on the search to try to find something unique to use the zucchini with, but something sweet. I wanted something sweet. So I found this great, it's a bundt cake, so you need a bundt pan. You could probably make it in some other pan though. Typically those kind of recipes you can use other pans if that's all you've got. Anyway, before I start that, I will tell you about my bundt pan. You can see here it's a really old one. I wonder if I could see the name on it. It's got a name here. Let's see if I can turn it back upside. Northland. It's really heavy duty. It's just exactly like the one Granny had. Of course, Granny's, she's had hers since she first got married, years and years. And I always, like when I first got married, someone got me one, but it just wasn't very sturdy and I didn't like it much. And I was always wishing I had one like Granny's. And I found that one at a thrift store and was so excited that as soon as I left the thrift store, and I think I paid $2 for it, I brought it straight to Granny's and showed her. Anyway, any bundt pan will do, or any other type of cake pan. But when I liked that I could go back and look at this recipe, so I was going to make it today. I've got it wrote down in one of my cookbooks that I handwrite stuff in. But I thought, well, I need to go back and see if that original place where I got it, because I always like to give credit, of course, if it's still there. Well, it is, and again, I'll put that link in the description. But I found it really interesting when I looked through the ingredients. It's slightly different than it was back then, because I have wrote down what was the original, and I have it right there on the Blind Pig and the Acorn too. So they've changed it slightly over the years. One interesting part is, part of the one they changed was something I changed even the first time I made it. It calls for a cup of oil, and that original recipe it called for a cup of olive oil. We like olive oil, so I don't mind that flavor. But even back then I thought, well, maybe I'll do half olive oil and half vegetable oil. So that's what I had done on the Blind Pig and the Acorn. When I go back and look now, they say to use I think it's coconut oil, but they don't say olive oil. But of course you could use olive oil, coconut oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, whatever, avocado oil, whatever it is that you usually cook with. You could definitely use that. And then it seems like there was one other thing that they had changed. Oh, the recipe now does not have pecans in it, and the original recipe that I found way back when did. So we love pecans. Everybody loves them. Austin can't eat them, but he's the only one. He can't eat nuts. He's actually not going to be here this weekend though, so it'll probably be ate up before he comes home. Anyway, so I'm gonna stick to the original recipe that I had, but I do want you to go look at that recipe, because of course they give all kinds of tips and tricks and stuff. So to make this is what you're going to need. You're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to need 1 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, baking sody as Granny and Pap would say, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup sugar, 3/4 cup dark brown sugar, 1 cup of oil, again whatever you prefer, 3 large eggs, 1 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 1/2 cup of sweetened shredded coconut, 2 1/2 cups of shredded zucchini, squeezed to get the excess moisture out, and the 1 cup of pecans if you want to do it the way I'm going to do it. If you do it third directions, then you could leave that out, and then I think they increased the coconut. And then we're going to, once that's the cake part, once we make it and it bakes and we let it cool, then it's got a wonderful, I think this is what really sets it off. Oh, and this is another thing that was different, I could tell you too. So it's got a lime glaze on it. So you're going to need 1 teaspoon of lime zest, 1/4 cup of lime juice, and 2 cups of powdered sugar. Now that original one had part powdered sugar and part granulated sugar, and it give it a little crunchy. That was even kind of the name of it. I think it was like zucchini lime crunchy coconut, I don't remember, something like that. And it did give it a little crunch. And that's the way I made it the first time I ever made it. But what also happened was that granulated sugar kind of like cemented the cake to the cake plate that I had it sitting on. So even in the post that I wrote back then, I said when I make this again, I'm just going to use all powdered sugar, and that's what I did from then on, and then I didn't have to worry about that. Now the little extra sugar bits in there, the granulated sugar that didn't mix up, did give it a nice little crunch, but I think I prefer it with just all the powdered sugar. So I will link to that website though, so you can go look, and I'll link to the Blind Pig and the Acorn too, back in 2012, so you can go read it. And of course in that one I also link to that website. So now I just need to get started. And the reason I'm making this, I don't remember if I said that or not, I got talking about the bundt pan and lost my train of thought. But I'm going to have company tonight. We're just going to have something really easy, hamburgers and roasted potatoes, that's it. But I thought, well, I need something sweet to serve. And then also our zucchini, this is the end of the summer, so this is like probably the last zucchini. It was a pretty big one, the last one that I'll have, because our plants are pretty much all died out now. So that was another. I guess this can be one of the last hurrahs of the zucchinis for this year. So the first thing you're going to do is take your all-purpose flour and your baking soda, your baking powder, and your salt and mix it all up together just in a separate bowl. So I've done that so you'll be ready to go. And then we're going to put in our mixer, we're going to put both of our sugars and whatever oil you choose to use. And we're going to let that mix up. Try to get it all out. We're going to add the eggs and the vanilla. And we're going to start adding our dry ingredients that we mixed up together. Now we're going to fold in, it says to fold in the zucchini and the coconut and the pecans. I just always put it in the mixer and kind of do it slow, but let that be my folding. Okay, zucchini cakes make such a pretty cake because you can see those little bits of green. It makes it really pretty. But now we're ready to put it in the pan. I can't remember if I said, but you need to grease the bundt pan before you put the mixture in. Once it gets done, once we get it out of the oven, we will let it cool a little, like 10 minutes in the pan, then turn it out and let it cool completely. So I'm going to go ship cookbooks and do a few other things. And then once I get it out of the oven and it's cooled and I'm ready to put the glaze on it, I'll be sure to show you how it turns out. It's later in the day and you can see the cake here. It's all nice and cool, ready to be frosted or iced, ready to pour the glaze. It's really glazed on it. I got my cookbooks all shipped, so that's always makes me feel good. So now I've got my powdered sugar in here. I've got my lime juice. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. And I've got the zest from the lime. And if you didn't like lime, you know, of course you could use lemon, you could use nothing at all. This is still really good if you didn't want to put a glaze on it. If your mixture is if it gets too runny on you, you can just add a little bit more powdered sugar. Or if it gets too thick, if you run out of lime juice like I have now, you could add a little bit of milk. You could even add a little bit of water, it'd be fine. You can really smell that lime. Matt is crazy about lime, so that flavor, so he likes this cake just because of that. I don't know, mine's pretty runny. I may see if I can add just a little bit more powdered sugar. My bag was almost empty, so I might as well use the rest of that in it. Okay, I'm gonna get a spoon. You can just pour it over too, but I like to spoon it just to have more control over where it goes. Of course, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just putting it over the cake, letting it go where it will. Sometimes I like to save a little bit of it, and as you cut it, especially like since somebody's coming to eat with us, put a little bit on each piece, kind of like frosting the individual pieces. He's making me laugh by showing me Ira. He's a little ham. Okay, I'm going to save that little bit to see if anybody wants to put it over theirs. And isn't it wonderful when you have company coming that you know don't care if you go ahead and cut the cake? So I'm going to cut the cake and taste it. Always nice to have people come that you're very comfortable with, that it doesn't matter what you do. Try to cut me a little tiny one. I'll put this right here. Maybe I'll get a little bit of what's left and drizzle on top. Okay, I'm going to spoil my supper, but I've got to try it. The cake's really moist and sweet. I'm glad I put the pecans in it, even though they took it out of the recipe. I love the addition of the nuts. And then you have the tartness of that lime. Really plays off of it. Only thing it needs is a glass of milk, which I didn't get. This is a really nice cake to make any time of the year, but it does kind of lend itself to summer. This is the first time I've made it this summer, I think. I might have made it early on, but it really lends itself to the summer because of the zucchini. Then you got the flavor of the lime. I don't know, it just somehow tastes like summer. It's probably the combination of the lime and then seeing the little green flecks in there that reminds you of summer. I hope you enjoyed seeing how to make this cake. If you try it, I sure hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Remember, I'll put that link to the original recipe in the description below so you can go and see all the ingredients written out there for you. See the tips and tricks that they tell you. They don't have the pecans, but as you see, you can add it. They used to have it though. That's how I learned it all those years ago. I guess they tweaked the recipe and changed it on their website. Anyway, it's really, really good, and I think it'd be good even if you left the pecans out. I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.